right. Hello, marketologists. This is Mr. Marketology, and we have another marketing strategy session. Today, I have Alexi, or should I say Lexi?
Ooh.
I'm not sure. See, I see Alexi, but on your website, it says Lexi. So I wasn't sure how you wanted to do it. So, but I have Alexi on with me, and she is going to talk about a couple of things. One, being authentic. Two, how to position yourself as an authority. And three, we're going to talk about your favorite social. So everybody loves to talk about social media and so forth, but we want to get first into why you can be who you are and feel good about it. So Lexi, thanks for coming on to the call and talking with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and I'm excited to dive into something that I'm so passionate about.
Great. And see, you are about marketing, mindset, and what was it? Empowerment.
Yes.
And I have to do one more E. That's the experience. So, so you have to have two M's and two E's, which makes it me. And then we can get into what is being me.
Ooh.
So you say talking about, see, I'm all about marketing. It's two M's and two E's, but you talk about being authentic, and in today's world of unapologetic and I'm just doing me and so forth, what is it to be authentic?
I think it's showing up as yourself, regardless of what your thoughts of what the other person's gonna say, what they're gonna think, what they're gonna say about me to your friends. Because for the most part, these are just things that we make up in our minds. It's more of a mindset block than anything. I think that if we decide we're going to show up as ourself authentically by, if you're a person that cusses, if you show up and you cuss, if you're a person who doesn't wear makeup, you show up not wearing makeup. If you work from bed, working from bed, like showing up authentically yourself, that is going to attract your ideal client to you, because for the most part, you don't want to ever show up as somebody that you're not. You want to be consistent and really have a cohesive experience for your future clients, like the people that you want to work with appreciate the fact that you are authentically working from bed.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. They're more relaxed. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, if that's your brand style, if that's what you're going for, if that's who you are, I will definitely say there is a time and a place. For example, I met with a client today and I got ready today. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity, get ready, batch record some reels, throw in some little curveballs. But for the most part, my authentic self, I work from home. I have a 1.5-year-old. I don't put on makeup every single day. So that's how I want to show up. I want to show up so authentically myself that, yeah, it's uncomfortable at first, but at the end of the day, I'm still being me. This is who I am. And if people don't want to work with me because I don't wear makeup all the time, or because I sit on my laptop in my bed, then they're not my ideal client.
Okay. Now, I have a hard question, which I guess should be easy, but it is hard. How do you find out who you are as a person and as a business? Because in today's time, with everybody telling you what you should be doing or who you should be, or especially with social, with all of the, shall I say fake news, but fake views. I'll say fake views. All of the, this is what you should look like if you're a successful person or a successful business and so forth. How can you cut through all the fog and say, I'm this is who I am, this is what I like because it's what I like, not because everyone else says I should, And this is like how I do business, because think about it. 5 years ago, everybody was in suits and ties. 5 years ago, everybody was at boardroom tables taking pictures inside of a boardroom. Now everybody because of the pandemic and so forth, everybody is remote and at home. Showing up in t-shirts is something that's just normal now. And hey, I have my t-shirt with my saying on it. Some people are in pajamas. And I've seen in some videos, some people, they clearly just got out of bed. They didn't prepare at all. But I mean, how do you say, okay, this is me, instead of this is who I want everyone to think is me? If I ask the question correctly.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is, yes, the pandemic really ripped a lot of people out of the norm, and I think in just the digital world in general and on social media, there was such a huge pressure for so long for people to fit into a specific mold. For example, when I first started my social media account, I'm a solopreneur, I'm a one-woman show, but I would respond to people's comments and say, we agree. We think so too. And
I used to do that too. I used to do it too.
Yeah, it's like I was wanting to be so corporate and professional, and at the end of the day, it was not coming across as authentic, and it was driving people away, because whether we realize it or not, our audience can sniff through the BS. And so when we show up as authentically ourselves, and when I say show up online, that means getting on, let's say Instagram, for example, getting on stories, or typing out our blogs the exact way we would actually talk. Okay. Is in those kind of ways, like, we show up more authentically, So instead of me typing out like some corporate sounding blog that, I'm just hoping that one day will get picked up by Forbes or Business Insider, I'm typing as myself, I'm typing as what's authentic to me. And because my audience can feel a human aspect instead of a corporate lawyer type, that's going to give them a connection point with me. And that's going to help them connect with me on a deeper level, a more personal level, and not like I'm going to work with her because, I think she knows what she's doing, because there's definitely ways you can establish authority outside of having that corporate suit and tie on.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. Whenever I used to consult with corporate and even work in corporate chased mommy bloggers. They could never crack that code because their language was so different than the mommy bloggers, and it used to drive them crazy, because mommy bloggers would say, hey, this morning I woke up and I picked up little Johnny, and little Johnny told me this, and as I was taking little Johnny to school, this is what came to mind, and it brought me to this point. And they would hire expensive copywriters, and the copywriters would say, this morning as we woke up, I took my child to the school, and going to school, I noticed a 65% increase in traffic. And then it's like, what? But they couldn't crack because nobody was personable. Everything was a machine in a sense.
Yeah. There's no human aspect of it, which is what people connect to. People buy from people. They don't buy from graphics or statistics. They buy from people.
Yeah, it's hard. So I mean, what are some of the things that you do when you start to, I guess, consult your clients and say, here's some of the steps you need to take to find out your authentic self?
Well, one thing that has been huge lately, that actually one of my friends who's a video content expert, her name is Mallory, she lives in Wales, but she told me about this concept of an anchor item. Okay. So what an anchor item is something that brings you back to like the core of yourself, something that makes you feel really good. So she was talking about this in the context of getting on video, where she would spray perfume on herself before she gets on video. even though nobody can smell her, it just makes her feel better. So I was like, what is my anchor item? It turns out my anchor item is rock music. Like, I love rock and roll. I do. I grew up with it. My parents listened to it. They exposed me to it. And whenever I turn on my rock and roll music, I feel like myself. I attach to this part of myself that nobody can take that away from me. It always brings me back to, okay, this is who I am as a core. This is something I love that no amount of peer pressure or any external force can take from me. So having that anchor item, something that brings you back to who you are at the core, the root, whether that be like self-care, you know, if taking a bath really makes you feel good about yourself, or getting your nails done, or, you know, working out, or whatever it may be, whatever it is that makes you feel really good about yourself, do that thing. And then, you know, you'll be more clear in who you are. And then going from there, you can be like, okay, you know, I'm gonna do this now because I feel good about myself. You know, I think a lot of time we get clouded by too much scrolling on social media, over consumption, right? Where we think we need to be doing this, that, and the other thing because Susie down the road is doing that. And, you know, she got really good engagement on that post, so I should be doing that too. But I think what my whole thing in my business is when you show up as yourself, unapologetically, you're going to attract the right people. I think that at the end of the day, the people who know, like, or know, love, and trust you are going to be the ones who see all of you, not just the corporate suit and tie. They know that I like rock music. They know that I have a 1-year-old who screams in my Instagram stories sometimes. They know that sometimes I post a Instagram reel from bed, you know. They know these things about me, and they connect to those things because that's human life. That's how it is. My ideal client is a mompreneur, somebody who's stressed out, somebody who needs clarity and direction and strategy. And they can relate to me on those points. They have these connection points with me that they know that I know what they're going through, you know, and there's a time and a place. There's definitely, like, my ideal client is not somebody who is a luxury brand. It's not. And that's okay. There's somebody for each of us out there. And I'm going on quite a bit of a tangent, but that's
it's great information. It's great information. And you know, I mean, like you were saying, having that pregame ritual. I mean, you know, you see it in sports. They come in with the headphones on, and usually they have like a pregame ritual. LeBron James does the baby powder in the air thing. So, I mean, it's what they do to get them in game mode. And so saying, figure out what it is, whatever it may be, that gets you in game mode, and then start to go about your day conducting business.
Exactly.
So,
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I got to figure out mine. I don't know. I got to figure that out. So, I mean, what do you do? Okay, Lexi. What do you do about the mean girls? Those I'm being me, I'm unapologetic, so I say and do what I want. And what about that, especially when it comes to business? Now, when it goes to just, you know, leisure and entertainment, okay, that's one thing. But, you know, even in business, you have these so-called no-nonsense CEOs, and I'm just the boss, and da-da-da-da. And they hang their hat on, I can say and do what I want, and hide behind unapologetic. And like you say, you can be like, you're just being mean just to be mean, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, I know the type. I've learned that, especially on social media, the best thing you can do when you see somebody that you don't necessarily align with, they just, you know, they have pressure tactics, scare tactics. They just are just like the way that they are is just not a way that aligns with me. I hit unfollow or mute. I choose what I consume online. And I think that's a huge important factor us online is, again, we overconsume so easily. We can get so inundated with what this person's doing or what that person's saying.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we have the choice of whether or not we're going to consume what they post. So I actually have had people that I feel like come off as mean girl type marketers, and I unfollow them. I choose not to engage with their content. I look at it more of a way of, you know, I don't really like this term. Like, that's just how they are.
Yeah.
But that's how they are, and I have the option to not engage, so I don't.
Okay. And that makes sense. I know that, the age of Gary V that happened.
Mhm.
When Gary V came out, before Gary V, everybody was so, buttoned up and so forth. But then Gary started dropping all kind of F-bombs and this, that, and the third. And now everybody's in their social I'm just gonna say what I want. And I'm like, now you sound like you're imitating Gary
Mhm.
V. It doesn't even sound like it's coming from that particular person or people. And so, I know we want to move on to marketing, but that mindset of figuring out who you are and really drilling down to who you are because you know who you are,
Yeah.
not because on paper this looks good. Because a
Yes.
lot of times that's what we do. It's like, well, I supposed to be this. And it might be somebody else's influence, even if it's your client, I mean,
Yeah.
even if it's your client and you're like, well, I know that they like, let's say they like red. I'm going to wear a red shirt because I know that they like red, and I'm pitching Coca-Cola, so I'm going to wear red, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
But you know what? People, I think this is one huge message that's really important for people to really understand, not just hear, but to understand, is that your audience can smell when you're not being authentic. They can feel it, they can smell it, they can see it. If you're not being 100% true to yourself,
mm-hmm.
what you're saying and what people are understanding is completely different. It's not in alignment ever. So
Okay.
that's why it's so important to me, like, that people just figure out who the hell they are, and what your point is about Gary V. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to be like that because that's what works for that person, but it might not
Yeah.
be what works for you. And that's something
Yeah.
that I really try to push with my clients is be yourself. Like, do what works for you. When people are like, how often should I post on social media? I'm like, how often can you keep up? How often can you
Wow.
be consistent? That's
I was
that's
just about to ask you that. I was
yeah,
just about to ask you that.
yeah. Like, how, I can tell you this is what I recommend, but if I say you have to post 6 times a week, you have to, and you can't keep up with that, it's not gonna work. You have to do what works for you, what you can stay consistent with, what feels good for you.
Okay.
And that's where, I think people like Gary V, when he comes out and, takes off the freaking blazer and is like, all right, listen, we're gonna, throw some F-bombs in here. I think that there's an aspect of that is giving people permission to be themselves, which is great. But I think a lot of people transition over to well, again, that's what works for them, so it must work for me. That's not how it is at all. So I would really recommend to people to really get in touch with themselves, like, spend some time journaling. Like, there's this book I got at the Goodwill that has 3,000 questions about me, so ask yourself questions about yourself. Get to know yourself. Don't let yourself get so inundated with what everybody else in the world is doing that you lose sight of who you are, because people can tell.
That is great advice. And I think that's a hard homework assignment to
Mm-hmm.
do, but necessary,
Uh-huh.
because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times I think from birth, or at least from kindergarten, you're always told what you should do or who you should be. And so you're so used to accommodating everybody that you do lose sight of who you really are. I know I did. I remember my nephew one time asked me, he said, "What do you like to do?" And I couldn't name what I like to do. Now, I named everything that everybody else in my life liked to do that I did because they like to do it. But I couldn't say, this is mine. This is me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found out that I lost myself in everyone else. And I started working on trying to find out myself. Now, I haven't finished that journey yet, but
Never do.
yeah, there's some things I'm sure of. I know I like this. I know I don't like that. But, it's something that you have to be pretty much intentional with
Yeah.
doing. So,
You have to be very aware. That's something that I think a lot of us run around. Psychology says we live 95% in our subconscious, right? We live on autopilot. So I think that's something in itself where it's like we need to be collectively trying to be aware of everything, like the thoughts that cross our mind, the stories we make up, the things we tell ourselves about ourselves. Like, have you ever heard yourself say, "I can't do that"? Like,
in the
do you
shower.
realize? Yeah, what you're telling
I
yourself.
remember I used to be in the shower sometimes, and I would just be like, I can't. Now, it had no context to nothing. I would just be in the shower and be like, man, I can't.
Yeah, right.
What are you talking about? But I'm already programming that today is going to be a difficult day. I can't get through this. I'm going to have problems, and I started to notice it. And I forgot who said it. Was it Les Brown or Anthony Robbins was saying every time you do that, you say cancel, cancel, cancel. Now, the first few times I thought I was going crazy because it was like you're in the shower talking about cancel, cancel.
Someone hears you from outside. What is he doing?
I know, but I was like, I programmed myself to tell myself what I can't do, or tell myself you are going to have challenges today before you even have any, and so mindset is hard. I mean, honestly, I've realized there are certain things that I said that I wanted that came to fruition, and I was like, wow, I never knew, but it was sort of like I said it, I believed it, and it happened, without me actually knowing how it happened. It wasn't like it was like I did this, and this is the result. And I've had things that I said, this is what I want, and it didn't happen, but I don't know where it fell through the cracks because I was so focused on the doing of things to get whatever that was. So, a lot of it is subconscious, and it just works, like you say, in autopilot.
That's why one of the things in my signature trio is mindset, because I can give you all the strategy in the world, but if you are letting those limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome and everything prevent you from taking the next step or taking action, there's nothing else I can do for you. And that's why mindset, I feel like that's more of a foundational piece that works in the ecosystem. We're going to work through those blocks so then we can implement the strategy. And then I'm going to empower you to keep going while I cheer you on at the same time. So I think that's why it's so important to me, is because mindset, I see almost every single client I work with, they have some limiting belief. One of my clients, I love her to death. She said she has a product company. She creates custom products. And she said, I don't want to post this because I don't want to get too busy. And I said, that is a limiting belief right there. And then she was like, oh, it is, isn't it? And I'm like, yes, because because she still has a full-time job as well. And I said, if you do post it and you get too busy, then guess what you get to do? You get to quit your job. And I get that that's scary. That's scary. But by saying, oh, I don't want to get too busy, you're telling yourself that, this is as far as I'm going to go. So if you tell yourself, I want to get busy, I'm going to get busy enough where I can quit my corporate 9 to 5 and do this full time, what I love doing, You're going to get there. But if you're telling yourself, I don't want to get too busy, you're going to stay right there.
Good point. That's a great point. So now that you have the mindset, the next step is the action, is the marketing. It's the planning of and strategy of getting to your goal. So how do you transition them from the mindset to getting out of their head and actually starting to market themselves and brand themselves?
I think the biggest thing is like what their pain point is. Because I have clients who, you know, they show up every day on social media, like behind their logo. They're posting stuff, but they're never showing their face. So then that's the next step. So then my next step for them, okay, you need to get on stories, for example. You need to like start building that connection with your audience. They need a face to build that relationship with. You can't build a relationship with a graphic. You can't. So then it boils down to, okay, is it imposter syndrome? Is it the limiting belief? Like, why aren't you showing up here? So we work that through. And then it's not just, okay, get out there, do it right now. It's, let's do this in baby steps, you know, because realistically, if we're looking at a stairway, you're not going to jump from the bottom to the top in one leap. You're going to have to take a step. So for example, what I tell people when I'm really wanting them to get on stories is I will first have them post a selfie of themselves on their stories and introduce themselves to their audience. So it's not completely weird. They're posting a picture of themselves. They're like, hey, this is who I am. Hi. You know, it's scary, but once you take that baby step, it's like, okay, what's next? Then I have them post a boomerang. So because then you get that motion, they can see some expression. It's like it's the perfect mix of a picture and a video. And then I have them post a 15-second story, you know, just the one slide. And I tell them, you can do anything in 15 seconds, anything.
Okay.
And put a poll on there, do something like introduce yourself on there, or say, oh, the weather is so nice today. What's it like where you live? That's all. And then it's just building off that.
Okay.
So it's baby steps. Everything is baby steps. It's all working for, you know, what's next. Because after we get them conquered on stories, guess what's next? Going live. That's nerve-wracking. That's where the imposter syndrome comes in. Like, oh my gosh, what if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer to it?
Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is, you know, shifting the framework of your mindset and being like, say, I don't know, I'll get back to you, you know? And sometimes we just need that permission to say, it's okay that I don't know everything, because I will never know everything. You will never know everything. And anybody who ever says they know everything is a liar.
Yeah. And it's
again,
beautiful.
Oh, go ahead.
The beautiful thing about not knowing is you can say, I don't know, come back tomorrow on my live and I'll answer that question. And so now you got viewers for tomorrow.
Exactly. And you know what? Again, when you can fearlessly show up and say, I don't know, let me get back to you, you know, that makes you a human. It makes you authentic. It makes you real. It makes you like more approachable than somebody who has all the answers and is like, quick, whatever. It makes you, it just gives you that connection that you otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah. And that goes into your other piece. We were talking about vulnerability, you know, the permission to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Because, you know, we come from the era of everybody needs to be the smartest guy in the room or girl in the room. And so you never show vulnerability. And I always have it in place. And I always take pictures in my best light with my best filter, which is interesting about these filters on a side note. I'm going to tell you, my little ones got me into TikTok. No, I don't use it for marketing. I binge TikTok at night, which everybody will tell you, if you get a TikTok from me, it'll probably be at 12 or 1 in the morning, but I binge TikTok and share. But they will show like these before and after from some of these makeup artists. Incredible. Let's put it like that. Incredible some of these filters that people have that can change. And even some of the makeup artists where they're making themselves into cosplay, and it's just
Yeah.
unreal.
You can make
So,
yourself into a different person.
yeah, completely. And so we come from an age where we don't want to show any vulnerabilities. We don't want to show any blemishes and so forth. So how do you, coach your clients with saying, hey, it's fine to be vulnerable and you can leverage your vulnerability.
Yeah, I think vulnerability and just showing up as yourself, it's definitely uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's a muscle that needs to be worked. So again, it's in baby steps. It's like, if I encourage people to show up regardless of if they're having a good day or a bad day. For
Okay.
example, if you are really, really, really struggling with imposter syndrome, or you just do not want to show up at all, I encourage you to get on your freaking Instagram stories and tell your audience, I really don't want to show up today. Anybody else? Is it just me? And then you know what? You build connections that way, because there could be people in your audience that are like, I feel you. Oh my gosh. And then once they get that positive reinforcement that they're not the only one, then it gets easier and easier and easier and easier.
Okay.
It's all about just working at it and trying, because a lot of people, I think we grew up in a society where, again, yeah, vulnerability is like, it's people are scared of it. They're scared of showing these parts of themselves that are actually normal and human. And we're never going to know what's normal unless we start talking. I think in a lot of ways in life, we have lost the aspect to have conversations about hard things and talk about hard things and talk about difficult things. And so it takes one single person to show up and say, I don't feel like showing up today. Anybody else? For them to give somebody else that permission to be vulnerable themselves. That's all it takes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And it gets that conversation going, that dialogue. Now, on another note of vulnerability, also, like you were saying, people can sniff through when you're being fake with the vulnerability. Because I know I hate when I get on and they be like, hello, fam. Today, going through some things, da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, could you like, share, please? And be like, really? Really?
Yeah.
You just wasted 5 seconds of my time on that?
Yeah, you can tell
That's
when
my
it's
TikTok.
not real. You can definitely
Yeah.
tell. You can tell when it's for a sales pitch. You can tell when it's just for attention. You can tell when it's just inauthentic. And that's why it's so important, like, to me, for people to always show up authentically. Like the good days, the bad days, the I don't really know how I feel today days. It's show up as yourself every single day, how you feel, how you are, because people are going to trust you more
Okay.
for being 100% yourself all the time.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to follow somebody who's always in a good mood, always happy, never has any problems in their life, because that's not real. That's not real. And we live in social media land, right? Where everything's perfectly curated and people don't want the perfect. They want to know that their feelings are normal.
Yeah.
Their bad days are normal.
Yeah. That's a real good point. I mean, because, you do kind of look at those profiles to where it's like, wow, okay, no filter. Okay, this isn't in front of a expensive car or a mansion. Okay, this is normal, versus all of the commercials, which is another thing that businesses struggle with, because you're used to the polished commercials and so forth. And then you find somebody just has a cell phone, does a video from a cell phone and gets all this, attention. And you're like, we spent tens of thousands of dollars on this ad and nobody is clicking it. And it's because so polished that they're like, okay, I know that's an ad. I'm not even going to pay attention to it because I know it's an ad, where this person could have said the exact same thing, but it looks like it's just from them. I mean, it's a cell phone shit.
Yeah, I think that's why like product placement marketing is so powerful, because you don't even like, it just goes into your subconscious, like you're subliminally being marketed to, and you just thought you were watching a video. You just thought you were watching your favorite person, and then all of a sudden you're purchasing that water bottle that they had.
That's so true. And it does work. And that's why everybody now is into the influencer marketing.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
And even with that, you can tell who's actually influencer marketing versus somebody that's really good at it, and you don't even know that you're being marketed to. But they're, like I say, the product placement is there. So so that's really a good point.
That's another thing too. I tell my clients, if they ever get reached out to by brands, I'm like, only work with brands that you actually like. Because again, people can sniff out if it's just a plug. They can tell. You can totally tell. And if you are like, you know, I would have promoted this product anyway, then freaking do it. You might as well get paid for promoting a brand that you would have done already.
Yeah, that's a great point. I got reached out to by a watch company. I'm still waiting on my watch. They never did send it. I was like, yes, you know, but
gosh. Oh no! Now they put a bad taste in your mouth. You're like, well, I probably will. You
no,
now
I'm still into watches, but hey, maybe it's lost in the mail. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
It's only been 7 months.
Now that's going to be that every time someone brings up that watch company, you're going to be like, well, listen, they were supposed to send me a watch and I never got it.
Exactly. So if you purchase one, you might not get it in the mail.
See? And that's why it's important for brands to have integrity too.
Yeah. So, but that's a great point. I mean, you know, being to where it's just authentic, it's in there. I have actually purchased stuff based on just watching some videos and was like, oh, that's nice. And then there's some that are really clever, like they're comedic and clever of how they're doing the placements. And so you somewhat know it's an ad, but it's just so well done that you're like, oh, okay. Especially there's a few comedians that do it very well. So they'll have skits, and you kind of know it's a plug, but it's in the skit. So it's like, oh, okay. And they say, yeah, you know, I'm drinking da-da-da. And you're like, that was a plug. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I encourage anybody that's listening to this to, next time they watch a movie or anything on TV, look for the product placement. Once you start looking for it, you will never be able to unsee it.
That's true.
It is, you know, the most fascinating thing ever.
The most genius thing was when I was working and consulting with Turner. They had a deal with Cougar Town, and Cougar Town struck a deal with Target, and they product placed the wines, the clothes, and you literally could watch the show. And if you're watching it online, you could order while you're watching the show whatever they were drinking and whatever they were wearing. It was genius. And I really thought it was going to be like what was going to come for TV. They don't do it. I think Instagram does it now, because Instagram now you can shop. They'll show you the little video and they'll have little dots, and you click the dot and you can buy whatever that is. But yeah, that once you, like, you're right. Once you see it, there's no turning back. You start to say, oh, I know what they're doing now.
Well, if you think about it, okay, it's the movie, what is it? The one with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, the dad one. Daddy.
Oh, yeah. Was it Stepdad?
They're driving the Ford, whatever, that car.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just have to think about it like this. There's no way that these multi-million-dollar filmmakers are going to throw in a Ford car and talk about the Ford car without being paid for it. That is so much advertising dollars right there. And it just blows my mind, the things like, even if you had like a Starbucks cup or my Chick-fil-A cup, you know, that's money because they know that millions of people watch that. That's millions of dollars worth of ad spend.
Yeah. And it's almost like word of mouth. So it's subconsciously referred to you versus advertised to you, which is totally different.
Oh, isn't it just so interesting? Like, I could geek out on that all day.
Definitely. Me too. Me too. And sometimes, you know, when I'm around other people, they're like, okay, whatever. Because they're not into marketing. So okay, whatever.
You're like, this doesn't interest you? What? The fact that you've been subliminally marketed to?
Every time you go to the movies, I used to be like Coca-Cola genius. Whenever they have those clinks of the ice cubes and the soda fizzing, you start to get thirsty.
Yeah, literally, my mouth watered.
Yeah, you'd be like, let me go to the concession stand real quick. They've done a perfect job doing it. So,
literally, because you know exactly what it's going to taste like and you start craving it. It's kind of like people who like pickles. You know, as soon as you think of a pickle and that vinegary feeling, my mouth's watering right now thinking about it, you start craving a pickle because you want that feeling, you want that taste, you want
and you can even hear that crunch. You know, you can hear the crunch.
I need to go get my pickles.
Plug for kosher pickles. No.
Yeah. This was sponsored. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, that's so important when it comes to your marketing, that if you're authentic and people are following you for that, that's another way of extending your business model, because now people want to partner with you because they want you to endorse what they're doing.
Yeah. And it won't come off again like a sale. It's going to come off more like subliminal marketing, which is way more powerful than any kind of ad spend. Like if you're getting an ad on your Facebook account, it's way more powerful because it's already coming from people that you trust, that you love, that you know.
Yep, exactly. So the last part is the empowerment aspect of it. This is important for everybody. Everybody know that the empowerment piece, that support piece, is so critical when you're in business, especially when you're in business with a bunch of, I guess you would say, yes men. They work for you, you're paying them, they agree with everything that you say, but to have somebody that can empower you, that can support you, whether it's a mentor or a peer, you know, that's so important. So how do you work with your clients when it comes to that empowerment piece?
Well, there's two ways. There's empowering them to take the next step. And then there's me empowering, there's me empowering them to empower themselves, and then me empowering them, like cheering them on. I think it's really important that I think it comes a lot from me first, is being like, you can do it. This is awesome. I can't tell you how many of my clients just send me random screenshots and they're like, look, you know, and they get excited, and because they know that I'm going to be there cheering them on. And then the snowball effect of that is they want more. They love that feeling of like, I did something, you know, and I have somebody that I can lean on, that I can ask questions to, that is going to root for me and is going to give me, you know, that strategy or that little, like, even boost when I feel down. So it's this huge, it's just this ecosystem of like, I'll cheer you on, you cheer yourself on, you know, let's do this together. It's more of a partnership. It's a collaboration. It's not just, you know, me giving you strategy and then you coming back and being like, why didn't this work? You know, we're working together the whole time. And I, you know, like when I teach somebody how to make content, for example, and then they post on their Instagram this piece of content, I'm going to engage with that thing like you've never seen before. I'm like, yes, queen, look at you. This is so helpful. You know what I mean? And helping them feel that like, I'm doing this right. I'm really good at this, aren't I? Because that's the biggest piece, because that ties right into your mindset. If you can say, you know, I am doing this right. And then the strategy from there is It's a no-brainer.
Okay. And that's important, especially when you have sometimes, especially with entrepreneurs, it can be a lonely road because you might have not get that same level of support from
Mm-hmm.
people that are close to you, especially if they don't understand exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. And
Yeah.
they have their ideal of what you should be doing and who you should be. So I was just talking with a friend of mine today about when they say stuff like, oh yeah, that little business that you have, or oh I see you out there trying to do this and that. That's a little bit of poison being put into
Mm-hmm.
your drink every time. And they sometimes they're doing it intentionally, but a lot of times they're not even doing it intentionally. It's just that level of support isn't where it needs to be for you. They
Yes.
envision you being something else.
Yep. They
So,
don't see your
having that
potential.
support, yeah, yeah, having that support is so important,
Yes.
especially when you're starting out.
Yeah, and then I think it really ties in with the mindset piece because, if I tell you, if I try to shift your framework one time, right? And I'm like, no, this is how you should think about it. And that's just not really like the way I explain it doesn't really resonate with you. And then you start feeling like, okay, well, I'm not going to ask again. But having like knowing I'm there, knowing I'm there to support you and knowing that, there's always something that I'm there to cheer you on with. It really ties in. Have you ever had somebody explain something to you in one way and you're like, I just really don't get it. And then you hear it the same exact phrase, but phrased in a different way. And you're like, I got it. Like, I know what you mean, but sometimes it just doesn't resonate with you in another way. And that's
Yeah,
why the empowerment and mindset piece go so strongly together. And then the
yeah.
strategy comes after that.
Okay. Yeah, I've had the opposite to where somebody comes and tells you, have you heard about blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, that's exactly what I just said. And they're like, oh, I'm like,
Yeah.
I said that. That's what I
Yeah.
told you. Yeah.
Did I
And
say it the way
the
that?
one that I hate, one that I hate is they saw it on Facebook. Oh,
Mm.
I was seeing this Facebook post and blah, blah. And I'm like, really? Because I've been telling you that, really?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Sometimes people just need to hear it in like 10 different ways before it actually sticks in their brain. Like that saying, what people think of you is isn't your business. What people's opinion of you is none of your business. I've heard that saying over and over and over and over and over, but like, yeah, I get it, but it doesn't like dig deep enough, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't hit any kind of pain spot with me, but there was um, a girl I follow, she put it in the way of, it's not about you. Like nothing is about you. And for some reason, that stuck with me more than people's opinion of you is none of your
Wow.
business.
Yeah.
So it's literally, sometimes we just need to hear it in a few different ways in
Yeah.
order for it to stick. And I think that's what I was trying to get with the mindset and empowerment piece. Like it all coexists together.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. And in the environment that you're in too helps. Because when you're working with a partner or a mentor or a coach, a consultant, you're in your mind, you position them a certain way.
Mhm.
So what they say, you receive a different way than if you're listening to somebody else that may or may not be in your business. And you're
Yeah.
just looking at them as just, that's just my cousin or that's just so and so.
Yeah.
They don't know, and they could really know what they're talking about. So,
Yeah, there's something, there's two things. There's something about paying someone to help you that really helps you. And then there's
yeah,
something about, looking up to someone as an authority in a certain area that
yeah,
really helps too. And a lot of times our coaches and mentors and whatever, they see more potential in us than we see in ourselves. And that's where the empowerment comes into place. It's like, I know what you can do. I see it.
Yeah.
So here's the strategy of how to get here. And let's shift your mindset so we can, meet at these crossroads.
Yeah, that's true. So we can get out of our own way. That's really
Exactly.
it.
That is literally, that is the key thing that is holding every single one of us back, is ourselves. I'm not trying to downplay the lived experiences that some people have had, but there's a mindset to bad things. You can take any situation and flip the script and say, you know what, this is what I learned from that, and this is how I'm going to move forward and not let that happen again, and to change my life for the better because of that, because of what I've learned. It's all about our mindset. And if we are constantly saying, because of this external factor, now I can't do this, you are in your own way. You are in your own way. And actually, my post for my Facebook today, or not my Facebook, my Instagram, is happiness comes before success. Because how many times do we sit there and say, well, I'll be happy when I make 100,000 this year. I will be happy once I buy my new Tesla. I will be happy when, if blah, blah, blah. Then you're waiting on these external factors. And actually, I read the book, The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker.
Okay.
And he explains it so well, how the people who choose to be happy, they find a way to be happy, they shift their mindset, actually are more successful than people who are waiting for happiness to come.
Wow. That's
like
a great book.
Statistically proven.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great book. I had to get that book, because that is something, like, once again, going back to our conditioning, we are conditioned that after you get a good job and you get the house and you get the car and you get the little puppy and all this and that, that's what happiness is.
Yeah. No,
and
that's
so
why
we
people
chase.
say money can't buy happiness, because if you're constantly waiting on this, that, and the other thing, like, sure, you're going to be happy when you're on a yacht with your $100 bottle of champagne, but that's a material thing. Like, happiness is an inside job.
Yeah, that's true. Money can't buy happiness, but it can rent a whole lot of toys.
That's true. Give me my little adrenaline rush. It'll give me a hit of that for sure.
Definitely. Well, Lexi, thank you so much for the insight. If anybody is looking to really grow, and since your target audience are more solopreneurs and women that are looking to grow their business, feel free to reach out to Lexi, because she has some good information on her site. She also has just a lot of good stuff on her social that can help empower you, but also help get you in the right mindset. And then if you just need that extra help, go ahead and get out your own way. Reach out to her and see how she can maybe work with you and help you get out your way and get your mind right, basically.
Yeah.
Lexi says she don't work with us men, though.
Well, I don't discriminate, okay? My ideal client is a past version of me, and a past version of me is not a man. But that doesn't mean I can't work with one in the future.
But that's great. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming on, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow with another episode. But for today, we are going to get our mind right. We are going to be authentic. We are not going to worry about our vulnerabilities, and we are going to go out here and take action, even if it's just one small story a day.
Amen.
So thank everybody for coming on, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.